Roll for Crit here to give you our Tabletop Kickstarter Pickstarters for the week of February 5th, 2018. Today, we're going to be setting sail with communist robots to hell and back. Our first Kickstarter is a big one. It is Planet Apocalypse from Peterson Games. This is a company that we've really enjoyed, played almost all their games, and backed most of them. You can actually see on their site he's told which ones he's actually already fulfilled, and if they're not, to prove that he's been able to follow through with everything. The game itself is a cooperative game where hell has broken into the world, and it is the apocalypse. You'll be playing as several heroes and trying to fight back the demons in order to save the Earth. There'll be different maps, heroes, and demon bosses. I think it's fourth circle and final boss you can choose from, with amazing minis. Yeah, you can take a look. They're crazy terrifying.
I was going to ask. It's a Sandy Peterson game, so I'm guessing there's a bunch of weird minis.
Oh, yeah. You might have actually recognized a few of them if you've already seen some of his previous ones. Two of the demons and multiple of the heroes are actually being made part of the Cthulhu third wave to be implemented in that game. Though I wouldn't mind seeing some of these other ones, because there's some great, awesome-looking minis in here.
I am sure that there are, and this is a big old game with all those minis.
As you expect from a big game with minis, it goes for about $99, but you are paying for some excellent minis, as well as a cooperative game which plays, and you're fighting along a track, deciding whether you want to dive in to fight monsters, go out, and you'll actually be leveling up your character with little slots for as you go along to help be able to face the final demon at the very end. And it sounds like that's not just a face it, kill it, you're done. It would actually be, you go in, you fight it a bit, then you go out because you need to heal or whatnot.
Yeah, well, if it's anything like Cthulhu Wars, I'm sure we'll have lots of depth, replay value, and spookiness.
Well, considering those demon miniatures, yeah, I think some of those will haunt my dreams for a while.
Spookiness guaranteed. One of my picks this week is called Cogs and Commissars, and this comes from Atlas Games. It is a robot communism game, which is now a thing, featuring lots of fun little puns like artificial stall intelligence, and others that I won't go into just right now. Basically, this is a card game where your currency is citizens, and as robots, you are trying to collect the most citizens. Once you get 15, you win the game, but there are going to be cards you can play to cancel people's wins, to steal citizens from each other. It's kind of this fun, sort of basic take that sort of a game that on the surface started like something in the vein of Coup. What's cool about it is you actually get to have your own deck. It comes with pre-built ones with different robots, with different actions and abilities. Or there's more advanced versions of the play where you can do drafting or just custom build your own decks beforehand. So it's something that hopefully will work for more casual audiences or people who really want to dive in deep and go crazy with those robots. Looks really cool, fun theme. Cogs and Commissars goes for $25 on Kickstarter right now.
In 2009, a board game Endeavor came out, which was a Euro-style game in which you sail and conquer different continents. And this Kickstarter from Burnt Island Games is being re-implemented in Endeavor Age of Sail. This game is a new product, is the old game, but they like streamlined it a bit, better miniature pieces and stuff, but also added a new thing called exploits. These are actually little tiles that are actual historical events in which they will trigger, in which you can take advantage of and try to do things depending on where you've conquered. The game itself, if you don't know, is pretty much just like a Euro game. You start in Europe, you can't really sail anywhere until you build up your resources, your popularity, and so on and so forth. And then you go to other islands, which will trigger other events, and you will run out of space, which means you have to start fighting each other for more territory. And the game, you count your points and see who's the winner.
I like a good sailing game.
It did look like a very interesting map control, and I like the idea that you can't just straight up run to Australia and taking risk.
And it's probably a good game because it had enough support for them to bring it back.
And the exploit thing sounds really cool. I do love the idea of bringing some real world events in there that only trigger under weird conditions. They have already had some added through stretch goals, so that's pretty cool. Definitely something to worth check out if Euro games are up your alley. It's currently for $50 as a base price. Check it out and see if there's plenty of other things that fit what you want to pledge for.
Dice Odyssey is a new role-playing game from designer Anthony Sato, and this is an interesting RPG because it adds a twist in terms of how the dice mechanics work. Essentially, there are two phases to the game, Explore and Combat. And during Explore, it's kind of your typical RPG. One person is the storyteller, the GM of the game. Everyone else is a hero. And you're all part of a guild participating in these dungeon trials, this big competition. And the storyteller is walking you through. During the combat, you're going to have a ton of six-sided dice. Depending on your characters and your attribute cards that you choose, you're going to be taking different types of dice. There's also going to be a general bag of supply where you can get more dice if you need them for certain times. Also in combat, you can change up your skills and your strategies. So unlike a traditional RPG, where one character might just have a really good advantage in different situations against another, in this one you can sort of tailor what you need to do depending on the enemy. So you might choose a different card to use in combat that you know will work against that particular enemy's weakness. It comes with a whole bunch of dice, 60 dice. You're going to be rolling a lot. And there's also pre-made stories that are in there, as well as rules for you to make your own. Sounds like a really cool new twist on the role-playing genre.
Yeah, it seems sort of like a combination of almost like a dice engine with the RPG, which I really like. I do think I want to play more sort of dice puzzle / engine games, and I think it makes perfect sense in simple. Like you do think of like in playing like D&D, for example, just oh, this is a D10 is better than a D, but to think of actually different dice, like this is fire dice or this dice or whatever. I think they call them like dragon dice or fey dice and stuff. Is I think a bit more interesting, and definitely if you have a lot more and thinks it could be, especially for maybe introducing new people, just the tactile ability of being like, look at all these dice I'm rolling.
Yeah. Lots of dice rolling if you like that. This one goes for $74, which is a bit pricey for an RPG.
Dice.
Comes with a lot of dice, so check that out.
Deepwater Games has decided to try and localize some games from over in the Eastern market. And this first one, I believe is from Thailand, he said, is Herbalism. In this game, you are all beginner apothecarians?
Yeah, that's something. That's one of those things. You make potions.
And you're trying to find the cure for a disease. It's sort of a, I want to say, a hidden card mechanic. You'll have a deck of ingredients. 2 will secretly be taken out, and that's the cure. And you'll be passing cards around your hand and knowing the ratios of the deck, be like, okay, I'm not seeing this, so this must be what the cure is. And pretty much first to get to the cure gets more points than the others. You'll do rounds until someone hits 7 points. I thought this was like a fun little game and beautiful artwork. And what's also cool is they actually have 3 other games for around the same price. The Herbalism goes for $19. The rest are around $20. I think $25 might have been the max, but no more than that. Including one that was Shadows of Kyoto, which was one of actually our Gen Con picks that we were hoping to see. So this is definitely something to keep an eye on. I think it looks really cool and definitely for a great price.
Good Society is another new RPG on Kickstarter this week from Story Brewers Role-Playing. This is a role-playing game based in the world of Jane Austen. Not any particular characters or stories, but sort of just that vibe in general. You're going to take on the role of, say, a wealthy socialite or an heiress to some great inheritance, and you're going to be dealing with politics, secret romances, all that kind of a thing. This is a simple RPG that I think will be good for casual players. You're going to be able to build your character, and your characters have relationships to each other that are built on cards, as well as secret desires, because of course you got to have those that are going to come into play during the storytelling. Another thing you have is different tokens, and this reminded me of another sort of party RPG we played called Conspire, where you're going to be able to use those tokens during the gameplay to sort of make things happen. Maybe you state a flashback that occurred to you. So even as a player, you're influencing the story maybe a little more than in a typical RPG. On the other side, it also comes with some cool bonuses for the GM, like cards for NPCs to appear, to make things a little easier on their end. Has really cool artwork, really interesting theme. For some reason, we seem to be drawn to these anytime there's like these Jane Austen games, just because it's something you don't see a lot in the world of board games.
But because 9 times out of 10, it's usually a guy with a sword going at a dragon.
Yeah, this is a very different thing, which is really cool. The PDF you can get for just $10. There are more expensive. I think the hardcover is $45 or $50, but it's a gorgeous big book with cool artwork, cool style. So check that out. It's Good Society.
Video games are once again cropping up into the board game realm, this time from the Saint Rose series. Academy Games is bringing Agents of Mayhem, Pride of Babylon. This is a miniatures game based on the video game Agents of Mayhem. It'll be a team-based game where one side will play as the agents, the anti-heroes, the other the villains. in this case Babylon, but there'll be many more. It is actually a campaign game, so you'll be stories and upgrading each side, and on a 3D board of buildings, which you can actually blow up and crash the floors down, or take cover behind them, but most likely destroying the buildings. It's definitely really cool in taking that sort of more chaotic aspect from the games. Remind me of like Descent, but allowing more of that chaos instead of the more strategic, thinking more strategic like Knight or regular old school RPG. And we'll have more expansions and characters, so you don't have the same 3 heroes. You can choose who you want to play as well as for both the villains playing as more different villains. And what's also nice is it can be either a 2v2 or a 1v1, so you can do more of a, you don't feel a 1v all kind of deal. It has lots of miniatures of all the characters you can play as, including plenty of little minions.
From the movie? Minions?
Yes, from the now. But the game does, because of that, the game does go for $90, but that's also because the only pledge levels, at least I can recall, it's not just the base game, but also the first expansion, which is another villain, I believe you play as.
Yeah, I really like the idea of the team-based campaign. I think that's cool to have multiple people on both sides instead of just the 1v-all. I have played a little bit of the Saints Row games, but I've never played the Agents of Mayhem spin-off, I guess it is. So it'd be interesting to hear if anybody is more familiar with those, what they think of this transition. Those are our tabletop gaming Kickstarter Pickstarters for this week. See you next time.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave some comments down below.
Yeah.